Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to Interviews from Israel. Today we have a very special guest with us, Shlomi Nahumson, who is from the IDF Widows and Orphans Fund. And I want Shlomi to just connect with your hearts on what is happening there in Israel and what is happening with the Widows and Orphans Fund, all that they're doing, all that they're facing during this very turbulent time. The work there is so tremendous and touches so many people. So, thank you, Shlomi, for being with us this morning or this evening, whichever the case may be. And please feel free to open your heart and speak to everyone about your feelings and what is happening there in Israel with the IDF Widows and Orphans Fund.
Thank you, Gary. I assume that your audience knows what happens on October 7th. And before I even begin to describe what happened, I want to say thank you, Bruce, Gary, and Hargrave Ministries for the ongoing support that started long time before October 7th. And I'm beginning with saying thank you because that ongoing support strengthened the foundation of the structure that was able to put support to the children of October 7 and the war later on. So it's important for me to say that not only during the war, but long time before the war even started, Hargrave Ministries found it worthy to support IDFWO, and it makes a difference. A little bit over 2 months ago, I woke up at 6:29 a.m. to the sound of a siren going on in Kfar Saba, where me, my wife, and the children live. We woke up, and it wasn't the first time that it happened. It doesn't happen very often, but it wasn't the first time. We went to the safe room. We heard a few blasts, and a few minutes later, my wife went back to sleep. And slowly, I started hearing the push notifications on my cell phone. More blasts, more news from the south. I have a nephew serving as a combat soldier on the Gaza envelope, and he was there on October 7th. And I texted him, I said, Ido, there are rumors of an invasion from Gaza. Be careful. And about an hour later, he texted back, it's not just rumors. Please tell mom and my sisters that I love them. And later on, I learned that Ido was injured from a hand grenade, and his best friend from his unit was killed by one of these terrorists from Hamas. And that was the beginning of me realizing that what we're facing is unprecedented. Me realizing, or actually all of us realizing that what's going on right now is not just another wave of violence. Something unusual, very unusual, is taking place. And by that night of October 7, we knew that this is not just a wave, this is a tsunami. The number of casualties kept going higher and higher. In the beginning, they were talking about 300 casualties and 400 casualties and 500 casualties. We learned about the party, the Nova Party, where young, innocent children and young adults were partying. You know, I have this vision in my head of this girl on a wheelchair. She was handicapped. Um, Her and her father kept going to these parties, um, and she was surrounded with so much love. People said that that girl felt like she could not only walk, she could fly in these parties. And both her and her father were brutally murdered on that day. But that's only, it's only two examples from the most horrific day that I can remember, and I think the most horrific day in the history of the state of Israel. We later on learned that 1,400 Israeli civilians and soldiers, but most of them civilians, were murdered by Hamas. Women were brutally raped by several Hamas terrorists on that day in several occasions. Babies were murdered in the most brutal way, and almost or more than 200. The numbers, up until today, the numbers are not clear. Around 200 people, civilians and soldiers, were kidnapped, including children, including women, men, elderly. Anyone they could put their hands on, they grabbed and they took to Gaza. Some of them are still in captivity. And this was the beginning. This was the first day of, what can I say, a campaign. It's not enough to describe a war. A war is when a soldier combats another soldier. A tank is facing a tank. This is not a war. This is pure evil against innocent people. Golda Meir used to say that if the Arabs would lay their weapon, to be peace. But if Israel would lay its weapon, there's not going to be Israel. And it's true up until today. If Hamas will set the abducted civilians and soldiers free and let it weapon put it aside, Gaza can thrive. Gaza should thrive. You probably don't expect to hear it from me, but I feel bad for the Gazans.
Yeah.
Most of them, the vast majority of them, are victims themselves, but they're not victims of Israel. They're victims of Hamas. They're victims of their own leadership that made poor decisions one time after another since 1947 until today. And we're paying the price, the extremely heavy price of their poor decisions on both sides. But it's really up to one side to end the violence. One side can put its weapon down. In order for Israel to stop the violence, according to Hamas, it shall cease to exist. And that's not an option. It's clearly not an option. And so that day was really the beginning of, it's only 2.5 months, but it seems like a lifetime of pain, of agony, of grief. IDF Widows and Orphans organization, who until October 7 was helpful in raising 380 children who lost their fathers in Israel's campaign, is now dealing with twice the number of children that we're supporting. Almost 200 families joined our support circle. And as opposed to previous waves, some of them lost their homes too. Some families lost both parents in one day. Some of them just don't know where their father is. If he's abducted, if he was murdered. And within that reality, and of course, maybe we will get lucky and see the rockets behind me. The Tel Aviv is right behind my window. Um, we had a siren today, so it's not just a war where we support the families um, in inside the country. It's an ongoing event. And really, I can speak for hours about what happened and specific cases and how we react to it. I'm going to need you to help me focus because otherwise it will be a few hours interview.
Well, I appreciate what you said up to this point. It's all very much what I think people need to hear. But I would ask what you had to be involved with as the IDF Widows and Orphans Fund trying to help evacuate people both from the Gazan border, from the Lebanese border, because you're really dealing with whole families that are being put out of their homes. And as you said, you're having to deal, I'm sure, psychologically with a lot of young people who are without either a father or mother or both. And the tremendous responsibility of this, I know, is falling upon uh, your organization.
So when that happened on October 7th, that was Shabbat, it was a holiday, it was Simchas Torah, the day where we celebrate the Torah we received from God to Moses and then to the people of Israel. Um, the following Sunday, we came to the office, and you know, Gary, I in a way, we wanted to be prepared. When I started my position, I told my staff in the beginning, not because I'm pessimistic, because I'm realistic. Every decade, pretty much, there's a war going on in Israel. We know about Operation Protective Edge in 2014, about the Second Lebanon in 2006, Second Lebanon War, this Intifada, that Intifada. You know, we know where we live. We know which environment we're at. And I asked them, be prepared. There might be a war soon. Be prepared. We did not expect that. We were not prepared to these numbers. We thought about 60 casualties, 80 casualties, 100 casualties. We were not prepared to take care of so many families, but not only taking care of the new families. Our community is of almost 20,000 men, women, and children who experienced the loss in the IDF and the security forces. Many of them were under fire. Many of them found themselves without a home, without a shelter. So the first thing we did was making sure that every family has a place where they can relax, where they can live for a little bit, where they can be safe. Some of it was simple. We published an ad within our community and asked for some widows to host others from areas of risk. That worked perfectly. Then we turned to hotels, and different hotels gave us donated rooms for our families. Um, and but some of the cases were difficult. In some of the cases, we had a family in Kibbutz Nirim at the envelope of Gaza. She and her daughter were living in different apartments in the kibbutz. The daughter lost her battery died, and she didn't know what's going on with her daughter. Both of them were in the bomb shelters. Both of them couldn't leave. one didn't know if the other is alive, and we did everything in our power to get military help to come and evacuate the widow and her daughter and to take them to a safe place. And it took us almost 48 hours where these two were under constant fire, not knowing if the other one is alive or not, after losing their father several years ago in 2014. So that was that was much more complicated. Um, and really the first circle of support was given to the families that were under fire. And then we launched a phone center, a call center in our office. We were very lucky to receive aid from the best volunteers and we could ask for, and we had 3 shifts over the 24 hours, giving aid to the families. We had psychologists online here that gave support over the phone, emotional support. We had activists that would drive into dangerous places just to give food or to take someone that couldn't evacuate themselves to a safer area, and that was the first circle. The second circle was really to reach out to the families that lost their loved ones, and I can tell you, Gary, I in 1 month I participated in more funerals than I ever participated in my life. Over 20
Wow.
funerals that I had the honor to say goodbye to in a respectful way, and I knew that this is the first moment of a relationship with that family. And when Bruce told me earlier that he remembers that conversation from 2 years ago, he knew that for me it's not just an Excel sheet. It's not just a system. It's very personal. I know that it could have been me. I know that it could have been my father. I know that it could have been my children. I was in combat. My father was in combat. We both fought for the state of Israel, and it could have been me. So it is personal. And when I went to the funerals, I wasn't able to go to all of them. Some of them have taken place simultaneously. But I went to over 20 funerals, and this was the first step of a long-term relationship with the family. And I know from the position I'm at after 13 years serving at the IDF with an orphans organization that there are going to be happy moments in the future that we're going to share. The beginning is devastating. The beginning is painful, extremely painful. But we are going to come together as a community and share happy moments and share and celebrate life, remembering the fallen. They're never going to be forgotten. But one of the great things about IDFWO is that there are other widows and orphans in our community that can tell them there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're really looking forward for this war to be over. It's been going on for over 2 months now. Our office is right next to the Bellinson Hospital, and several times during the day, we see the helicopters from Gaza bringing casualties. Unfortunately, not all of the wounded soldiers come out of it. I'm notified of new soldiers dying in Gaza almost every day. But we're hopeful that it will be over, but not just that it's going to be over. We're hopeful that we can put an end to it. We're hoping that Hamas will not be a threat anymore to Israeli civilians. We're hoping that we can live side by side with our neighbors, respectfully, respecting each other, um, and of course, we're hoping to see everyone back home. The soldiers, the abducted civilians. Um, it's been going on for too long, from one hand, but from another hand, I keep hearing from our soldiers that they're willing to be there as much as it takes to make sure that our children can live safely.
Yeah.
And when I speak about that, and I remember stating that when we met as well, that supporting the IDF Widows and Orphans organization is not only supporting the widows and the orphans, it's also providing the soldiers the peace of mind that if God forbid something happens to them, someone will take care of their children. And that someone is not only Shlomi, it's also Hargrave Ministries and other supporters that come together to embrace our families and making sure that no one is left behind. And with that feeling, they go out to fight like lions.
Awesome.
Yeah. One thing I think it's important for people to understand that are watching this, part of the drive that Bruce and I and others at Hargrave Ministries have had to support Shlomi and everyone there that's part of the IDF Widows and Orphans is just this heart that Shlomi was expressing. And Bruce and I have talked about this several times ourselves, just in private together. The drive to create a family around those who have lost family.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Shlomi has done this personally. He's not sitting in an ivory tower as a CEO of an organization. They're not just providing things of need, whether it's food or clothing or housing. They're providing a heart of love surrounding, encompassing, embracing these children. They're also embracing the widows, both husband and wife, that have lost their spouse, because as you know, in the IDF, both the men and the women are part of the war effort. And so you lose a mother or a father. And there is, this is important for me personally because it's one thing to support an organization that is benevolent in its help for people and doing a lot to support those in need. But there's something special when there is created, which is what Shlomi has created in this organization, a heart that says we are undergirding and becoming family. As he just talked about with the funerals, this is the first step in which he personally is stepping into the family to become part of the family, to become part of that which was lost, not just to represent it, but to bring the heart of a father, to bring the heart of a mother back to the children, to support the one who has lost a husband, a wife, in this and creating a sense of community within those who have lost loved ones. This is what is irreplaceable, and this is what we are supporting more than anything. And I'm telling you, this is why Bruce and I go to Israel. We visit, we talk to the ones that are a part of this, because we're not just trying to support an organization. We want to be part of the heart, as Shlomi just said, that people feel that there are other believers who are Christian out there, who are with them, who are feeling their pain. And even though we may be living thousands of miles away, we want them to know that we're there. We want to be part of the heart of what is embracing them in this time of need, and not just in the immediate time of need, but as Shlomi just said, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And the IDF Widows and Orphans is there for their birthdays. They're there for their high school graduation. They are there for their bat mitzvah, their bar mitzvah. They're there for the major times in their life, their marriages, providing what family would provide in those special events of life, because you know that you have a family for life. It's not just no one is left behind. It is that for life, there will be family surrounding you because of the existence of the IDF Widows and Orphans Fund, and because of the people like Shlomi that run this organization. And I can't say enough about Shlomi. It's an honor to be to know him. It's an honor to be part of supporting these people. And Bruce, I'll let you jump in and maybe make a statement at last, ask the last question here. But anyway, I think we have the same heart agreement on this.
Gary,
Well,
before the last
and
question, can I share a little story?
yes,
Yes.
A
please.
moment before the last question. Last week we held a Hanukkah retreat in the desert. This is the program of the retreat. It was a wonderful 4 days retreat in the desert in the Negev. We chose that location because it was somewhere in the middle, in between the rockets from Gaza to the rockets from up north to the rockets from Yemen on Eilat. It was probably the safest spot in the state of Israel. And we had over 250 women and children come into that retreat. And the kids were having fun with the kids. We had a preschool that we launched at that retreat for the babies and the toddlers. Our youngest was 4 months old. Her name is Be'eri, just like the kibbutz, even though she was born 2 months before Be'eri, the massacre that took place in that kibbutz. And we started forming that exact community you were talking about. And on the second day, I saw 2 kids, Shai and Elio, that couldn't really find themselves within their age group, and they were bouncing between the preschool to the older kids, and they kind of stuck with their mothers and didn't let them go. And I said, you know what, Shai and Leo, I really need 2 assistants. It's a really hard job to be the manager, the director of this whole operation. It's too much for one person. I really need assistance. And for 2 days, I'm telling you, Gary, these were the best assistants that I've ever had. They took
Awesome.
my walkie-talkie and they were responding under my name. And they felt important. They felt that they're being seen. They felt that they're part of this community. Okay. And if you don't mind, I want to share what what Shai's mother wrote to me a few days ago when the retreat was over, and she said she in the beginning she thanked the staff for all the efforts and everything, and then she went on and said, um, uh, on one more personal note for you, Shlomi, you have no idea what you have done for my precious. I was debating whether to write to you or not, but I feel it is okay to share with you that what Shai said and cried on the day we said goodbye to you and the camp. Mom, when Shlomi picked me up and hugged me, I felt as if Father came back and hugged me. Shlomi looks like Father. He's big like him. He's warm like him. So thank you for giving my son a hug that was really from the heart, because otherwise it wouldn't have reminded him of his dad. Have a happy Shabbat to you and your family, and I really have no words to thank you and your amazing organization. And I'm sharing that not because I want someone to tap on my shoulder and say, good job, Shlomi. I'm sharing that with you because it really is the essence of what we do. I'm not Shai's father. I'm never going to be able to replace him. No one will. Okay, but what we can provide to him is a community with different people, figures that will help him become um, um, a strong a member of our community, of the general community, independent, proud, and this is what I'm really proud that we do. And again, we couldn't have done this without your support. That support is much more needed now, more than ever, probably. But the fact that we arrived to that point where we're ready to handle that challenge is due to the support that was given throughout the years. So again, thank you so much.
Well,
That's
and
beautiful.
instead of asking a question, I want to just thank you, Shlomi. My question actually would have led right into what you just said. So it's perfect. I love what you just said, because I cannot, as I'm hearing you talk, I cannot imagine a child losing a mom or a dad or a home. The tremendous sense of feeling alone, feeling just alone, and how that might affect a child. And the fact that what you just did with that one child and that family, but it's not just you, it's the organization, the community, the many people you've brought together. And I just want to thank you, not just for expressing your heart in this interview, but giving your life and your heart to support the families of Israel, and especially the families of those who've paid the ultimate price for being in Israel, creating Israel, and defending Israel. They've paid the ultimate price. And you and the people you have with you are the ones reaching into these ones saying, no, you're not alone. We're with you. We're your family. We provide that sense of belonging. And just thank you so much, Shlomi. Another huge difference, and the reason these interviews are so important, is we in America relate to war differently. We have a hard time imagining the wars America's been in have been in foreign countries. You hardly know anyone who's fighting in the war. This war is in your backyard. I love the fact that you said you heard the rockets, the explosions, and many of our relationships have expressed that same thing. I'm sorry, what?
I said we heard it today. Today we had a.
Well, and I'm taking an UPON class, and every week we have to stop the class because she's going into her safe house. So it is personal to so many families in Israel. And thank you again, Shlomi. This is very important to hear. Have your heart expressed to so many in our community.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shlomi, for this time, for your openness to be able to share your heart in this difficult time. I know it's giving people a real sense of what you're doing and what the organization does. And so I just want to encourage everyone who's watching this. Number one, I would say, feel free to go back and watch it again and really absorb the heart and the feeling of it. But also, please go to our website at hargraveministries.org. And on the homepage, you can click there to give to Israel. There's a few organizations that we're taking special offerings for beyond what we normally do monthly. We're taking special offerings to try to meet the need that has just ballooned and grown since October 7th. So I ask you to please open your hearts to go to the website or go to the IDF Widows and Orphans website directly and give all that you can to help and support, and feel like you are a part of this organization. Feel like you are part of this heart that is meeting the needs of these children and parents there in Israel. And once again, thank you, Shlomi, so much. And please thank your staff for us. And we look forward to seeing you again in Israel and having time together, celebrating the fact that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we know
Amen.
that that is the purpose that God has chosen Israel for, is to be a light to the nations. And that light will shine. And we are
Amen.
with you and praying for you. Thank you so
Amen.
much.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Bruce, Gary. God bless you.
God bless you. And early Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.